Hello everyone, my name is Corazar, and welcome back to the Vintage Story Guide. We are back in the Rain Simulator game again, after having put together our neat little new back door area out here. It's kind of hard to see from here, but yeah, there we have our new bridges that run across this little pond here, and off into the distance where it ends with our toaster. And I am thinking about coming through and maybe finding some gravel. Not sure. There's a tiny bit of gravel like right there, but not a whole lot. And I might see if I can find some gravel and bring it back and just line the edges of our walkway with it. And I'll probably just use granite gravel because limestone is... Well, we have one teeny tiny patch of limestone. Is it here? There it is. And there is no gravel. Just a teeny bit of sand, and that's it. So, yeah. I could almost go for some sand to line the path too, but we'll see. I think the gravel looks really nice. But yes, I am quite happy with how this came out. I think the only thing that I would have wishes for is that we could actually use different colors on these signposts here. But this will do nicely for getting us out to the toaster when it comes time to weather new temporal storms. Now, in the last episode, we did note that the toaster itself is a really horrible design and does not work at all the way that I want it to. And I was going to tackle that problem today, but I kind of had a bit of a stroke of inspiration for a different project, and that is that one up there in the distance. I want to finish out the details on the windmill and the sort of forge area beneath it. And so I want to tackle that today because I'm kind of in the mood to. So, yeah. I'm going to throw this old schedule away and get working over here. And of course, we do have our new trees out here, and this will serve nicely as a tree farm area. But let's get upstairs and let's get some materials going, and let's take a look at what kind of damage we can do to the windmill. So this is the area that I want to work on here, as well as the upper level here. And I have a few main things in mind. I want to make this building a bit less blocky, a little bit less chunky. And so I think sort of a basic touch-up with the chisel will do nicely here. I'd also like to come up here and change out this wooden fence for a chiseled sort of grate cover that goes over top of the outside here and just sort of maybe gets connected into the edges along these logs. I also want to get rid of this fence in favor of a custom chiseled one, and I also want to shave off these corners here so that we have a more octagonal tower. Well, it is octagonal, but one that's not, aliased like this. Down here, I want to dress this place up too. I do kind of want to put a little back wall in right here, just so I can have a bit of shelf space for odds and ends inside here. And maybe we'll set up a separate sort of shelf system to house these ingot molds sort of around the edges here, maybe on either side rather than out the back. And then we'll also do a similar custom chiseled acacia railing here. We'll shave off these corners, and so on. And then I also want to do something interesting here. I want to, again, get rid of these wooden fences. These were always temporary. And then make some kind of custom frame to go in here, and then copy that to all three of the other, or all two of the other directions, since this will be closed off. And then lastly, I kind of want to come in here maybe with some granite or something else interesting, and do something cool with this floor. A while ago when we built this, I mentioned that I left it blank so that we could come back and do something cool later, and I think that might be part of today's project. We'll have to see how everything else goes, but as long as we have time, I think we should do it. With that being said, I think it's time. Let's get to it. Okay, good morning everyone. We are up here and ready to roll. I have a project bin full of what I think we should need. I guess we'll find out later. And I think one of the things that I noticed first is that I kind of went a little ham with these lanterns. And since I want to chisel back some of this block here, we aren't going to be able to put our lanterns there. But what we can do is we could sneak these lanterns in right here in these corners. And that way they'll provide basically the same amount of light to our platform up here, but at fewer than half of the total lanterns that we need to do it. And that way we are no longer out of lanterns, because I have blown through so many of these things, lighting up all of our spaces here. So let's go ahead and I'm going to get my chisel. We're going to get a hammer, and luckily this hammer does not use its durability for chisel work. And wow, it is kind of dark now without my own lantern in hand. Let's go ahead and get started. The first thing I want to do is we're going to chisel all of these corner blocks. And we're going to saw these teeth down. If you're not familiar with the term aliasing, if you're not big into computer graphics, aliasing is when you have a straight line that runs at an angle that's not exactly 90 degrees, perpendicular or parallel to the plane of the pixels, and you end up with this. This is an alias where it does this sort of stair-step thing. We're going to go ahead and start anti-aliasing these blocks here. I think what we'll do is we're going to take this down pretty fine. I might not go down to the 1x1 blocks, but we'll see. I might end up doing that anyway. We're going to get rid of you guys because you are just a threat here. My goodness, get in my inventory. Away with ye. Much better. You know what? Maybe we will go down to the 1x1s, even though that does represent a good deal more chiseling. Since we are at a slower release pace, I can kind of take my time with these videos now, which is kind of nice. It means that I can really go ham on some of these projects and not worry about it impacting, the release schedule or my sanity. Wait a minute, I'm doing it again. I forgot about the chisel table downstairs, the workbench extended. Yep, maybe we should just do one of these, and then copy it. That would be smart. That would be really smart. But that's what smart people do. And that's why I'm not doing it, apparently. Okay, so you know what? If we are going to do that, let's just break this one here. So we're going to need to break all these corner blocks, aren't we? Let's just sort of build a little bit of a... Ooh, you know what? We can just build right off of here. Kind of. And we will just make a little bit of an apron at the base of this level. And that way, when we go and break our blocks, we can just let them fall, pick them up, and not worry too much about losing them. I'm going to go ahead and we're going to take down all of these blocks here along these corner pieces, or these diagonal parts, and I'm going to go copy them and then bring them back and reinstall them. Now we'll probably just chisel these guys and finish them off, actually. So yeah, I will see you all when that is done. We're on to the next part. So, funny story, I just realized and remembered that we had already turned these into chiseled blocks. So I'm going to do all of these bottom ones by hand, but we have all but one of the top ones. One of them fell down to the ground below. And then we will go pick these up and do the copying then. This shouldn't be so bad, so I'm not too disappointed, but we're going to sort of need to make sure we're thinking about that for the future. Alright, with that out of the way, let's focus on these blocks here, because we still have this sort of join to worry about. Now, what I'm going to do is, I'm just going to split these blocks in half. Now, that does mean that our sort of perimeter border here is going to be a little thinner on these diagonals, but I don't think we're going to notice or care all that much. So what I think we'll do is, I think we're going to lose some of these if I break them. Maybe not that one specifically, but the rest of them most likely. So what we're going to do here is, we'll put this guy down for now, and we will chisel it like so, and then we're going to go and get some slabs. And I have discovered, and if I've mentioned this before, then I apologize, but once you have a full block that you're chiseling, if you go ahead and add a slab to it, or stairs, you can in fact use that slab or stairs material anywhere in the block. So it's basically the block's original shape that affects how far you can chisel it. In the case of stairs, you can't add anything to them. So we're going to go ahead and we are just going to add this to that right there. And we're not going to do it to these guys. And we're just going to chisel the inverse, whoops, if I pick the right block type, the inverse pattern as we did here. But we don't have to do the entire interior because we're not going to see the inside bits, so this should go a lot faster. There we go. Now, we do need to get the bottom because we will be able to see this from the bottom. So let's go ahead and drop you back down. Right there. Now we have our little design in here. I could almost come through. You know what? I think I will just do this to it, just to make it have a little bit more basalt, since we are giving up some by doing this angle the way that we are. I figure the more we can give it, the better. Do it to the bottom too. And then I'll go and copy it, and we'll do the same thing, where I'm just going to bring them all in here and drop them in. And we were going to lose probably all of these planks, that's fine. Now, this level is going to be different because here we are dealing with the standard horizontal planks on these pieces here. Up here, you'll see that the grain is going perpendicular to what we have going here. I mean, these are vertical planks, so I will have to chisel this, at least one of these, separately, and then copy them with the vertical planks down at the station downstairs. It does occur to me that if I had half a brain, I could just do this. If I had a saw and a brain. There we go. No trip downstairs necessary. Let's just drop you there. Okay. That's one problem solved. Anyway, I will see you all on the other side of this operation when we are ready to move on to what I think is going to be exciting is going to be the railing. I have some ideas in mind for that. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And there we have it, everyone. We now have a nice straight edge to our build here, and we have a nice straight border. Now again, a more optimal design here would be to come out probably another 30% of a block or so and bring it across. I can't do the math in my head right now, but it's pretty close that way. And that way it would sort of be a lot more even if you were looking at it from this, comparing it to this. Like, see, it's much wider here than it is, say, here. But I think we will survive. So, the next thing I want to cover is, let's go ahead and design a new fence style for along here. And for the time being, I'm going to leave these in place because as we're chopping down our fences to pick them up in order to copy them or move them, I don't want to send them overboard and way, way, way down there because I'm not getting them. So, let's get, I'm thinking some acacia. You see, acacia is right for the occasion. Ho 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 ho. People are going to be mad about that one. Okay, let's go ahead and we'll do vertical plank for posts. Now, one thing that's important to me is I do not want to be able to jump off or over these fences. So, a one block tall fence isn't going to cut it. So what I need to do here is I need to find out what is the shortest possible fence we could make that I cannot jump on top of, because you'll see we do actually jump a little higher than one block. There's a bit of a drop when we get to the top of the block. So we need to figure out just how high that is, and we're going to do that by doing a bit of this. And we're just going to take a little off the top here. Can I jump there? Ooh, I can jump there. Wow. We got some hops on us. Alright, let's go up one more. Okay, so that means that the shortest possible fence that we can have here and be safe is going to be 1 full block plus 5 voxels. Okay, so that's going to be a... wow, that's a tall fence. What I think I'll do, though, is I kind of... do you mind? I swear, these things keep respawning way faster than they're supposed to. Anyway. So I think what we'll do is I kind of want to have, like, a sort of curve to these a bit. So... yeah, we'll see what we can do. And I'm going to do one segment here, and then we'll come in and we'll do segments along here. And I think what we'll do is, just like the regular fences, I think we'll probably keep them right about in the middle of the block, just for simplicity's sake. And it'll also facilitate us doing whatever it is we're going to do here. That way we can just sort of make them all line up properly. Yes, I think I like that. That looks sturdy, but also elegant. It's got sort of, you know, a lot of airflow, so it doesn't get rattled around by the wind too hard. So, yeah, I'm going to do a similar design over here. That's going to be the real challenge, is making this happen across here. But then I'll get to copying it, and we'll put it in place. Okay, everyone, we are back after a bit of a journey in terms of getting all these fences in. So we do now have all of the fences in on this level, and they turn around these corners here. We have these shorter ones on the ends and somewhat larger ones in the middle. And we have the same thing up on the upper level. So it is all done and set in place. And I did have to go and ransack the acacia forest down here, you'll see this is a bit barren these days. I did replant all the trees, so we'll get more eventually, but our tree farm out here was not quite ready for us, so I had to go farther. So now down here, one thing that I wanted to do, and this is kind of a small thing, is I just wanted to do something with these end pieces here, and maybe on the ones below. I'm not sure, I'm not sold on those, just because they're going to be hard to get to. But we could, if we dig down right here, we'll get to the one underneath this block here. But what I wanted to do was just really simple. I just wanted to take off some of this, and I was thinking originally that I wanted to do a complete, like, slanted angle here. But I think what I want to do instead, if we don't fall to our deaths, is I want to kind of cut it off like here, so that it's not just a full 45-degree angle from corner to corner, but like we take off a chunk of it, but not the whole thing. So let's see how that looks. You know, I kind of like it. I think what I'm going to do is we'll go ahead and I will do that to all 7 of these. And actually, these 7, you know, we'll just copy it. We'll do the good old copy routine, because that will just be a lot faster. But probably will waste some of the chisel, but I do have, I think, 2 more. Yeah, we've burned through 1 already. We have 2 more after this one. So yeah, let's go ahead and do that, and then I will see about doing the ones down here. I might just break these away and then let them fall to the ground, and if I can reach them, great. If not, I'll just go get more of the ebony logs from downstairs. And there we go. All 8 of these are done, and this ended up being a manual process, and I'm sure some of you were screaming at me of, hey, Kurazar, you dummy, you already chiseled these blocks, so you can't use them in the workbench, and yep, you'd be right. So these are all manually done, and I think we're just going to leave the ones down below as regular logs for now, because we're not going to be able to see them from very far away, or I should say, only very far away, in which case the details may become a bit lost. So I think what I'm going to do next is I want to tackle these openings here, and we're going to start by taking down one of these, and on these 3 doorways, this one here, here, and here, I want to do some kind of interesting, I don't know, like an archway with some kind of filigree, and I'll probably do it out of acacia, because I do like the color, although I may also add in possibly some of the bamboo for a wicker look. So let's try, yeah, let's try that and see how it comes out. And with the power of editing and the Workbench Extended mod, we have this. I think this is really fun. I did try it both with and without the wickerwork punched out, and I just think it looks so much better with it punched out like this. So it actually looks like real wicker. We can kind of see through it, but not, not really. I think this is a lot of fun. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this to the other two sides here and here. And then along this back wall, I think I'm just going to put in a relatively simple wall. Mostly so that we can have some like shelving over here for tools. I don't think like this is a great place for tools. I want stuff inside where it's not going to be buffeted around by the wind so much, and it'll be at least a little more protected from rain, even though it's kind of still damp here all the time. So I think that's what we'll do. And like that, we have our forge entrances and our back wall almost done. We do need this back there at the very least. Let's put our hammers in their rightful places. There we go. And I'll probably use some of this for other storage too in the future. But yeah, I am very happy how the space is coming out. Okay, and although I am finishing up work on cleaning up this floor here for working on this area and doing something interesting here, I kind of want to take a break and head up here because there are a couple things that I want to do here. I do want to do some kind of simple chiseling. I don't want to go too crazy, actually. So the first thing I want to do up here is I want to take these right here in the corners and just bring them back a little bit. Does that give the effect that I want? It does, but I think I can go even more and just sort of make these blocks half as thick. That should look even better, I think. Okay, yeah. I think that helps a little bit. Helps make it look less like a perfectly square design and a little bit rounder. Now for these guys, I do want to do some corner shaving. And so I think what we'll do, so we'll start by doing this for most of these. There we go. And then I think we will take off most of this right here, take off a little bit here, just to give it a little bit more of an archway feel. Do I like that? Nah, I don't like that quite as much. And it might be worth bringing in some more cobblestone here and just sort of filling this in so it kind of slopes up toward the ceiling a little bit. Let's try that. And maybe we'll even put some on the outside too. Yes, I think that's going to be the game plan here. Is we need to get a little bit more on the outside and on the interior. Let's see how it looks. And just like that, we have a completed little archway in here. I did come through and I took away a little bit more material along here and on the inside, just to make it a little less chunky. But in general, it is supposed to be chunky because this is a big, heavy build. It needs a very steel foundation. I also applied the same stair stepping to these here, and it reminded me of something that I haven't really covered before, is that you can make your own stairs, and they work just like the stairs that the game already has. But more than that, you can make stairs at different angles. So these, although they are very, very narrow, still operate just like stairs. You just walk straight up them. So if you're trying to build a very narrow but tall build, keep that in mind. You can actually use that as a trick to make vertical builds that don't require much horizontal space. Alright, now for the big one. And that big one is going to be all of these fences need to go. And for that to happen, I need to figure out how to get in here. There we go. Alright, these fences are all coming out. Sorry. See you later. Alright, so with that done, our next task is going to be making a whole bunch of acacia slabs. That should do for now. And what we're going to do here is 1, 2, 3, 4. So we need effectively 48 total. And what we're going to do is we're just going to do that. And this is no fun trying to chisel right here, so I may end up doing this somewhere else. What I want to do is we're going to make, again, some tiny slivers, so I also may just take this down and sliverize it downstairs. And I want to make sort of a grating, like the kind you would see in like a trellis, only not diagonal. I just want to do like a, vertical and horizontal bars. And then I'll poke holes in, and then we'll take it from there. So let's work on this downstairs, I think, after all. Especially since I have to build the sliver first. Okay, so here we have our sliver, and you'll see it is actually 2 voxels wide. That's because I want a slightly more solid appearance up top. And since this is wood, if we make it really thin, with all the wind that we get up here, it's going to get rattled to pieces. So I figured a somewhat thicker look might be nice. Now, one of the things when you're making a lattice, just like with here, when you're dealing with blocks that have 16 total voxels, if you just alternate your voxel punch-outs like this, you're going to end up in a situation where you can't actually have it look even. You can't have it match up so that both edges, I'll get up here and show you. If I were to use the pattern we had downstairs, then this edge would have a bunch of squares taken out, and this edge would not. So if you're doing anything like this where you're making a grid pattern, you're going to need to offset it by half of the size that you're going for. So we're going for a size of 2, which means we have to offset it by 1 in all directions. That way, when we put these in place, all of these edges will line up with all the edges upstairs, and you'll have a grid pattern that is symmetrical. And we did this similar pattern when we built the ceiling grates for the blacksmith down at Lupine Ridge. And I think I explained more about that process back in that episode, so if you need a refresher, I think it was in the late 20s. I'm not positive, but I think it was in the late 20s that we did the blacksmith build. And there we go. So I'm just going to copy this 47 times and toss these up top. Oh, and we're also going to hope that I counted and mathed correctly, so let's see. And like that, we have that part all done. I know it would probably look better if we could have this sort of grate be on the inside. However, we put it on the outside specifically because we really can't move these axles unless we go and get a lot more resin and make a large wooden gear. But we ended up not doing that just for time's sake. that could be something we do to improve this in the long run. We could just shove all these back a block, and that would actually give this a bit more depth. But this also gives it some different depth by having it pop out, which is a bit more in line with, you know, following this here. So I don't hate it. I think it's kind of nice. Now, something I did mention, and I do recall, is possibly doing something about this, because this is kind of ugly. So I think what I want to do here... What do I want to do here? Ooh, I know. We need some bricks, some basalt bricks, and my chisel that is about to die. And I think what I'm going to do here is pretty simple. That is, I'm just going to try to find somewhere I can stand. There we go. And break these down. Like so. Boop. And there we go. Our axles are now safely sequestered behind our exterior blocks, and I think that is looking pretty fine. So I want to cover these up too, and then we'll get down to our smithing area down below and do something special on the floor, or in the floor I should say. Now, for this very last part of detail work I want to do, we do have to go on a bit of a trip, and so we're going to go just a bit over beyond Yon mountain range, I think. Should be about far enough. And right down here we have it. We have a bit of andesite down here, along with some friends, but we just want the andesite today. So I think we're just going to make sure they can't get up to us. I think they can. We'll just do a bit of that. And then I need just a couple pieces of andesite. So I'll grab that, and then I'll meet you all back at home. Okay, with that all said and done, it is time to get started on the little project I had for in here, which involves chiseling, I think, these 8 blocks. And then, let's see, that is north, okay. Alright, let's get started on a little bit of a chisel project that will involve adding some of these to these blocks right here. Okay, here goes nothing. And with that done, we now have a little sort of elemental alchemical circle around our anvil. I thought it was kind of cool. And we have here the symbols for earth in the north, water in the west, fire in the south, and air for the west wind. And that represents the earth from which we extract our metal, the fire with which we heat it and forge it, the air that we need to burn the fire, and which cools us in the sweltering heat, and the water in which we quench our work. And we have the final product in our hands. And there we go. And we have this sort of, you'll have to imagine it as being silver inlay. We used granite, but I don't have enough silver, so I think granite works pretty well here. Anyway, let me know what you think of this. I thought it was pretty fun. and I think it came out pretty well. Well, everyone, that is about all the time we have for this episode of the Vintage Story Guide. I hope you enjoyed this really focused detail work on our board here up on Argent Spire. I hope you liked what came out of all of our chisel work and all this new design. In the next episode, I think we'll go ahead and tackle the toaster redesign and get that working so we can actually, profit from these temporal storms. And we might also change the outside design a little bit. If you haven't caught the new series yet, I have a new Valheim Let's Play series where I fumble my way through Valheim and make plenty of mistakes along the way. I think it's a blast, and if you think you'd like that kind of content, go check it out. I may also be releasing, or may have already released, I'm not quite sure yet, at least the first episode of the Rusty Gears Vintage Story Let's Play. So if that is out, check it out. If it's not out yet, then look forward to it. As always, my name has been Corazar. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.